Long for the Blue Jays, and then this year pitching 200+ innings.
All eyes are on Marcus Strowman heading into the 2017 season.
Definitely think I could be much better this year.
He competes every time he goes out there, and most time he gives you a chance to win.
I'm focused on doing everything I can to win a championship here, and that's the only thing on my mind.
Marcus Strowman, he's ready to take another step forward.
I'm excited for this year, what I'm going to do.
Welcome to Dunedin, Florida for more Grapefruit League baseball action. The Pittsburgh Pirates and their manager Clint Hurdle in Dunedin today to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Lots of young fans out to look at their favorite players, the Toronto Blue Jays, here in Dunedin, Florida. Hello, everybody. I'm Buck Martinez along with Joe Siddle. And Joe, today we're going to see the first starter make a start for the Blue Jays, Marcus Strowman. And a lot of his teammates believe that this year is going to be the year that Marcus takes that next step.
Well, Marcus Strowman coming off his first full big league season where he logged over 200 innings. He enjoyed a much improved second half of the season. One of the best athletes in the game, I consider him to be. And his preparation both on the mound and in the weight room has been off the charts. I think for Marcus to take the next step in the 2017 season, what he needs to do is focus on the mental side of the game and overcoming that adversity throughout the course of the season, sometimes even within a game. His motivation and his competitiveness is off the charts. I think the sky is the limit for this young right-hander.
Well, Marcus Strowman, for the first time in his career, is going to pitch in the WBC, the World Baseball Classic. He'll be pitching for Team USA. And for more on that, let's check in with Hazel May.
Buck manager John Gibbons telling me that Marcus Strowman will make one more start before he is off to join Team USA in Miami for the World Baseball Classic. As for the rest of the afternoon, Gibbons told me to expect a lot of relievers, including bullpen holdovers, Ryan Tepera, Aaron Loop, and/or Danny Barnes, plus our first spring look, Buck, at all-star closer Roberto Osuna.
Osuna as well getting ready for the WBC. He'll pitch for Mexico. Kevin Pillar's back in the lineup in center field. Jose Bautista had a couple of hits yesterday. Newcomer Jared Santalamacchia will do the catching. He homered yesterday against New York. And Anthony Alford making the transition from football to baseball. Maybe the best athlete in this camp.
This program brought to you by New Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
Welcome back to Dunedin, Florida. The Pittsburgh Pirates are here today to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Another fine crowd on hand. Just a little reminder, Major League Baseball has implemented a security measures all throughout spring training, so it's taken the fans a little while to get into the ballpark. So if you're making your way down to Florida for spring training games, remember you might want to come a little bit early, as the ballpark here is dealing with security measures. You have to go through the checkpoints and make sure that you're good to come into the ballpark. So make sure if you're going to come here, arrive a little bit early this season. Let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. A year ago, 78-83. Clint Hurdle in his 6th season as the manager of the Buccos. Yuri Perez, top of the order. Starling Marte, notice he's playing center field. The former left fielder, a 2-time Gold Glover. 25-year-old Gregory Polanco batting third. David Freese, the veteran, at third. John Jaso, the first baseman. Bostock, Weiss, Stallings, and Gift Ngope from South Africa playing shortstop, batting 9th. And today's pitcher is brought to you by Scott's Turf Builder, Green Max Lawn Food. Get a deep green lawn in just 3 days.
Marcus Strowman gets the start today for the Blue Jays. The 25-year-old right-hander is coming off his first full big league season. He made 32 starts for John Gibbons last year, logging over 200 innings. He had a much improved second half of the season, an ERA just over 3.5 in 14 starts. Made some adjustments to his delivery, tweaked it just a little bit, abbreviated that delivery, tried to simplify things. It's helped him get back to where he wanted to be, and it'll be interesting to see what he has to do to move forward here in an even more improved 2017 season.
Well, behind Marcus Strowman, he is a ground ball machine. He is among the leaders in ground balls. In the outfield, good speed in left field, and Daryl Siciliani making a bid to make this ball club out of the spring. The two fixtures in center and right. Jose Bautista not in the lineup as the right fielder. Anthony Alford, the youngster, is in right. Pilar's in center. On the infield today, take a look at Gregorio Petit playing at third base. Goins and Barney up the middle. Smoke starts at first for a second straight day. And we'll get our first look at Jared Saltalamacchia behind the plate. He teams up with Marcus Strowman to make up the Blue Jays battery here this afternoon.
Saltalamacchia signed as a free agent by the Blue Jays earlier this month. The 10-year Major League veteran will most likely serve as a backup to Russell Martin. Got some pop in his bat. That was on display yesterday in Tampa when he homered against the Yankees, a member of the 2013 World Champion Boston Red Sox.
Well, Saltalamacchia is certainly a very quality backup for Russell Martin. Anthony Alford, the right fielder, what a terrific young man he is. He's a former football player, played quarterback and defensive back in college. This is basically his second full season. He played parts of 3 seasons while he was still playing college football, but 2015 his first full season. He'll get another opportunity this year to really advance his baseball skills.
We talked in the open what a tremendous athlete Marcus Strowman is. Well, there's a pretty good athlete in right field for the Blue Jays here today, and they're very excited to watch him progress through the minor leagues.
As we mentioned, Strowman will pitch for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. He'll be going down to Miami to join Team USA. He's going to start one of those games, and there is the possibility he might start against the Dominican Republic and his teammate Jose Bautista.
How's that for a matchup?
That'll be a lot of fun. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is downstairs for a ball, and we are underway. Strowman will turn 26 years old in May. It's a 24-16 big league record. There's a strike. It's 1-1. Marcus, according to many of his teammates, one of the hardest workers in the training room. Always prepared, always looking for information to get better and better. Took something off that pitch, and he's ahead 1-2.
Strowman's fastball will average around 93 miles per hour. He's had the curveball, slider, cutter, changeup, a lot of pitches. He's tweaked his delivery a little bit last year to simplify things.
Slider in the dirt. 2-2. Strowman you mentioned his adjustment mid-season. That's as challenging a task you can take on during the regular season. Not missing any major league time, but still working to change your mechanics. He did a great job of that mid-season.
Anytime a pitcher has a difficult time repeating their delivery, they try to simplify things, and we'll see Marcus Strowman just a very soft initial step to initiate the delivery. The hands used to come up over the head. Now they just stay around the waist and trying to repeat that release point.
Smoke with a grab of the line drive, 1 out as Perez lines out to the first baseman, 1 down.
Nice job by Justin Smoke, positioned well as a line drive to the right side. I don't think Perez got all of this one, and a little bit towards the end of the bat, and big lanky left-hander there at the first base bag. Justin Smoke plays a very nice defense for the Blue Jays around that first base bag.
Batting second this afternoon for Pittsburgh is Starling Marte. He's playing in center field this season. That's a position change for Marte. Of course, around Pittsburgh, it caused a lot of controversy because the former MVP, Andrew McCutchen, was pushed out of center, and he'll play right field this year. But Marte, a terrific defender, a 2-time Gold Glover in left field.
So much news surrounding Andrew McCutchen all winter long, rumored to be traded on several occasions. It never did happen, but then the Pirates surprised everyone and came out with the news that they're going to move him over to right field in the shift of all their outfielders.
Surprising everyone, including Andrew McCutchen. So Marte, a terrific player. He's 28 years old. Big speed. He stole 47 bases a year ago. Had just 9 home runs, but he plays in a big ballpark, PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Marte had 34 doubles, 5 triples in those 9 homers. But he can go get it in the outfield. 2-2 pitch. Strowman is set. Breaking ball missed down and away. Joe, what kind of challenge is it for Jared Saltalamacchia to get up to speed with all these Blue Jay pitchers in his first spring camp?
Now, it's a huge challenge, and you know, Buck, as a catcher, I think of all the positions to move to a new team, it is the most difficult position to do that because you've got an entire pitching staff to learn, and they're all different individuals.
Chop toward third. Petit has it, throws in time, 2 away. There's another one of those ground balls that Marcus Strowman is so good at inducing.
And Saltalamacchia will be very aware of that. Marcus had a lot of success with that 2-seam fastball, getting a lot of ground balls, 60% last year. But Salty's going to have to learn each pitcher. When I say they're all different individuals, they all have different styles. They all have different strengths and weaknesses. And it's your job as a catcher to get with each one of those pitchers. I think the most interesting aspect I saw here early in camp when I first got down here is the time spent Gerald Saltalamacchia with Russell Martin, and it's just a lot of dialogue going on there. Russell can be his best resource in terms of learning his new pitching staff.
This is Gregory Polanco. He is slated to be the left fielder every day for the Pirates. He's 25 years old, and the ceiling is very high for this young man. 22 home runs a year ago. That's a career high. And you can see he's an imposing presence in that batter's box. Ball on the strike to Polanco.
Marcus combined his slider and cutter last year. The slider's normally around 87 miles per hour, the cutter around 90, 91, where the slider even 85 is. So you can combine them, you'll see that pitch in the 87 range last year, just to simplify things a little bit.
There's that cutter right there. Gets in on the hands of Polanco. He's out front.
And at 88 miles per hour, that's where he'll be with that pitch. He'll also throw the curveball, which will be in the low 80s, but he's got such a good complement of pitches. The fact that he can sink the baseball down, and he will also ride the 4-seamer fastball high in the zone, so he can elevate, drop it down, and still work both sides of the plate.
Well, he mentioned Saltalamacchia in his first season with the Blue Jays. We'll have a chance to talk with him after he comes out of the game this afternoon and get his impressions of his first camp with the Blue Jays. Joe, you mentioned he's got World Series credentials, and it's good to have that kind of presence in a backup role to Russell Martin. Outside, it's a full count. Top of the first inning. Beautiful afternoon here in Dunedin, Florida. Blue Jays have a full schedule of games after this game today. They'll still have 30 games remaining on their spring training schedule. 3-2 pitch called strike 3. Polanco caught looking. Strowman in good form. He retires the side in order. Top of the order for the Blue Jays will come up. Strowman does his thing. Off to a good start in his spring. With the Blue Jays, and he is very laid back here in the spring. He's got so many veteran players on this team, and he knows that he just let them get ready at their own pace. Marcus Strowman, the first of the regular starters to make an appearance here this spring. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Blue Jays, coming off an 89-win season a year ago. Jose Bautista, 265 home runs with the Blue Jays, second all time. He is the DH here this afternoon. Had a couple hits in yesterday's game. Jared Santalamacchia, a homer in his Blue Jays debut in that split squad game against the Yankees. Smoke Siciliani, Anthony Alford's in right. Barney Goins and Gregorio Petit round out the Blue Jays lineup, and they're safe to face young Chad Kuhl trying to make a spot in the rotation for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The 24-year-old right-hander split time last year between AAA Indianapolis and the Pirates. Made his major league debut against Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers in late June. He won that decision. 3-0 in his first 6 big league starts. He was a 9th round selection of the Pirates back in 2013.
Kevin Pillar takes a first pitch strike. Kuhl is 24 years old, and the Pirates have a host of young pitching prospects making a bid to get into that rotation. A little chopper back to the mound, and Pillar grounds out back to the pitcher, 1 away. So Jose Bautista will step in with 1 out. Bautista is in terrific shape. He always comes into camp in great shape, and boy, it's good to see him back in a Blue Jays uniform this spring. Jose had a down season by his standards, hit .234 with 22 home runs, but much of that was due to a couple different injuries. Injured his toe in Philadelphia, crashing into the wall in right field, and then caught his spikes on the turf at Rogers Center later on in the season. Spent 2 different stints on the disabled list. He managed 24 home runs in 116 games. He's always a threat, Joe. Well, this could quietly be a very nice reunion for both Bautista and for the Blue Jays. This is a player that hung out there in the free agent market in the offseason. The industry changed. It was not going to reward some of these sluggers, and he did have a bit of a down year by Jose's standards, but when he comes in the shape he is right now, if he gets back to what he can do normally, what a threat he is in that batter's box. Well, he changes the way pitchers will attack the Blue Jays lineup. I don't care what kind of season he has. He's a 2-time home run champ. He's got a terrific eye at the plate. And when this lineup is whole, then you have all of the big bats in the lineup. He is one guy that people will focus on. Fights off that inside pitch and stays alive.
The backup slider that time from Cool. He'll be around 93 miles per hour with the slider and the changeup. That's a nice job by Bautista. Very late identifying that late break, and he was able to get to it. Bought himself another pitch here. Let's see if he can do something with it.
2-2 pitch. Lays off that breaking ball. Well, Jose's got a good eye. I mean, here we are. He's playing in his second game in the spring, and he's taking borderline pitches already.
Against a pitcher that you're not familiar with. Very, very impressive.
Pops that one straight back. Joe, what is it about hitters? What do they want to accomplish early in the spring in general? What's a hitter trying to do?
You hear hitters use the word rhythm, they use the word timing an awful lot. And I think by the end of spring, some hitters will say they need 40 or 50 at-bats. Some say they need 100 at-bats in spring training to prepare. It's different for each individual.
Bautista caught looking at that slider for strike 3. That'll bring Jared Saltalamacchia to the plate. The 31-year-old's a switch hitter, and yesterday he made his debut with the Blue Jays.
Well, this is one of the reasons why they acquired Saltalamacchia, to be the potential backup to Russell Martin. He has some thunder in that bat. He can spell Russ on any particular day now. They don't have that lack of flexibility that they had with R.A. Dickey and Josh Tolley. So now Salty can mix in there anytime, and he can certainly hit the long ball.
Had a down year with the average last season as he was with the Tigers at 171, but he hit 12 home runs and drove in 38. Joe, I don't know about you, but if I'm considering someone for a backup catcher's role, I want to see the damage like Saltalamacchia did last year. Give me some home runs. Give me some production.
Exactly. And a lot of backup catchers, they're going to be more defensive type players. They might not be a whole lot offensively. And Salty's had mixed reviews defensively as well, but if you get him with his new pitching staff here, if he can play once every 5 days and hit one out of the ballpark, I don't care if he hits 220 and strikes out a lot. That's valuable as a backup behind the dish.
Well, and you mentioned it, how Russell Martin and Salty have been talking a lot throughout spring training just to learn the personality of the pitchers, what you can ask them to do in different situations. Here's the 2-2 to Saltalamacchia. It's outside. That'll be full count.
It's a good challenge even today for Saltalamacchia. We've talked about Marcus Strowman a lot and his tremendous athleticism, but the one thing he's probably going to work on this year is really trying not to amp things up too much.
Might have been an off-speed pitch. Saltalamacchia strikes out. The Blue Jays go down in order. 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the second. Another inning for Marcus Strowman.
Welcome back to Dunedin. You see Marcus Strowman making the start today. Tomorrow in Bradenton, Lucas Harrell And that's because this is back-to-back spring trainings where manager John Gibbons has elected to push back his starting rotation. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, camp opened early this year to accommodate those players heading off to the WBC. So the exhibition season, that much longer. And two, this is the second straight spring the rotation has gone deep into the postseason last year. So you want to try to ease pitchers like, say, Jay Happ, who logged in some 200 innings in 2016. You want to ease those pitchers, Buck, back into their workload.
Absolutely, Hazel. I don't think anybody is really anxious to really stretch out the starters early on. And you mentioned Jay Happ. He was near his career high in innings pitched in the regular season and exceeded that in the postseason. So John Gibbons knows they played later into the season for the second consecutive year, Joe, and it's important to make sure you don't wear these guys out down here in Florida.
And especially with the early start around all of the major league camps this spring due to the World Baseball Classic. So a lot of these players have to remember it's still February and we're almost into the month of March, but it was a much earlier reporting date for spring camps this season.
Strowman in his second inning of work delivers a first pitch strike. This is David Freese, a veteran third baseman. Freese got his start with the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, remember that big home run he hit against the Texas Rangers in the World Series a few years ago. Freese hit 13 home runs and drove in 55 a year ago. Jung Ho Gung is scheduled to be their third baseman, but he's had a lot of off-field issues, and he is still in his native South Korea. There's that athleticism we're talking about with Marcus Strowman. There might not be a more athletic pitcher in all of baseball than Marcus Strowman.
Well, it's exactly what we touched on in the open, talking about his athleticism. And as I said, one of the best in the game, but especially at the pitcher position. This is not an easy play when it's bounced in front of home plate, up and over the mound. If Strowman does not come up with this ball, it's a very difficult play for the second baseman, Darwin Barney, coming in. But Marcus, with that athleticism, gets to the ball easily and makes the flip toss to Justin Smoke.
Well, Marcus played the infield at Duke when he was a freshman. Playing at Duke, he played at second base, and you can see why he is a terrific athlete. And Jaso, the first baseman, goes after the first pitch and swings right through it. Strowman's record a year ago, 9-10, but he lost his last 5 decisions over a 6-start span. But much of it wasn't of his doing. The club was shut out in 3 of those 5 starts, and they scored only 2 runs while he was in the game over his last 5 starts.
He was much better in that second half of the season. And I think, too, as a pitcher, when you finish a season that way, you are eager as heck to get going in that next year in the spring camp. And that's what he's getting ready for right here.
Jaso goes down quickly as Strowman pumps that fastball right past him. 2 quick outs here in the second.
Well, we talk about his athleticism all the time, and we'll keep doing it because I think it's a very important point for a young player like this. This is that slider we're talking about right here. It might be in the 87, 88 mile per hour range, but very sharp and late breaking down and in on the left-handed swinging Jaso, swinging right over top of it.
This is Chris Bostic, the second baseman. We had a chance to visit with Russell Martin at length this afternoon earlier, talking specifically about Strowman. And Joe, I know you and I spent a lot of time here, but that was one of the most informative, engaging conversations I've ever had with any ball player anywhere. But Russell was so upfront and frank about his high praise for Marcus Strowman and the work he puts in and how talented he is.
Talk about that athleticism again, but Russ talks about the preparation, and that's on the mound, but it's also in the weight room. He said everything that he does, he is such a competitor. He's highly motivated to be the very best in the game. And to do that, you number one need talent. He certainly has that. The one thing Russ talked about too, and others will, we know how amped up Marcus can be on the mound, and sometimes it can work against you. But what you want to do is be able to control that adversity, especially within a ball game, to just slow things down.
Strowman gets the strike out of Bostic. 2 strikeouts in the inning, 31 pitches to get Strowman through 2 clean innings. Boy, does he look good early on in the spring.
Week presented by Honda. It's the Brewers and the Blue Jays April 11th and 12th. The Honda home opener is sold out. The Orioles in town April 13th to the 16th. For tickets, visit bluejays.com. Bye.
Thank you very much, Hazel. It's going to be here before you know it, opening day, and you want to make sure you check it all out. It's going to be a great week of baseball. Milwaukee, Baltimore to open up the first week of home games, and then after an off day on the 17th, the Boston Red Sox will be in town for a 3-game series. Thursday, the 20th of April is a day game. Put that in your calendar. So if you want to come out and have an early break from work on Thursday afternoon, the Red Sox, pretty good team. Justin Smoak, the first baseman, fouls off the first pitch. Inside, it's 1-1. Well, all along the Blue Jays, all spring long, have said Justin Smoak's going to get an extended opportunity to play first base this season. The Blue Jays, particularly the general manager, Ross Atkins, believes that Smoak is their best option at first base, and they'd love to see him swing that bat the way he did 2 years ago when he had 18 home runs. Off-speed pitch, tapped towards second. Shortstop Giftim Gope makes a nice play coming across in front of the second baseman to throw Smoak out. Ngope is from South Africa. Very good fielding shortstop. He's had trouble making the adjustment with the bat, but here he makes a nice play playing Smoak in the shift.
Well, with the shift on and Justin Smoak, we'll see a lot of those shifts, but what a nice play by the shortstop coming all the way across to his left. He knows he has time. Smoak does not run real well, but fields it cleanly and makes the flip to first base.
This is Daryl Siciliani getting a start in left field. He goes after the first pitch and lifts a pop up into left. Polanco with those long strides closes in on it, makes a nice running catch in foul territory to retired Daryl Siciliani.
Polanco making that switch from right field. This is a big outfield adjustment for Clint Hurdle's Pittsburgh Pirates this season. We talked about it earlier. Andrew McCutchen will move over to right field. Polanco's making the switch from right to left, and this is a little bit different here. As a left fielder, that ball now coming off the bat of a left-hander is slicing away from you, and he stayed with that very well. Good thing for him, that gate was open. Down the left field line, he could continue on.
I love a left-handed throwing left fielder defensively in left because of that play right there. The glove is on his right hand, so that ball that's slicing away from him is a much easier play for a left-handed thrower than it might be.
And as a left fielder, that ball's generally going towards the line.
Anthony Alford jumps on this one and smokes it to center, but it's going to hang up for Marte. Alford jumping on that first pitch, hit it hard, but Marte runs it down in center field. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the third. No score.
replica jersey presented by Honda takes place Sunday, April 30th, when the Rays visit the Blue Jays. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Marcus Strowman blue replica jersey. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com.
Well, Marcus Strowman had a terrific start here this afternoon, and he is done after 2 innings, and he really didn't break a sweat, Joe. He breezed through this outing. 31 pitches for Strowman, including 3 strikeouts, 2 coming in the 2nd inning. And there's Russell Martin talking with Strowman. And we mentioned the conversation we had with Russell Martin, that he's really pleased with what he has seen from Strowman, not only this year, but going back the last couple of years.
Well, he certainly looked very comfortable today, that is for sure, especially for your first outing of the spring. And Marcus has to feel very good about that, especially when you work so hard all winter long to get the baseball in that first spring game. Mission accomplished for Strowman here today.
Roberto Osuna takes over here in the 3rd and delivers the first pitch strike to Eric Weiss, a DH. Watch out. There's that bat helicoptering, and fortunately it landed on the walkway. And everybody is safe down that right side. Osuna working on that changeup always, and he's a pretty impressive young man. Roberto had a terrific season a year ago, obviously.
Roberto will get the fastball up around 96 miles per hour, slider changeup, and he fools Weiss so much here that the bat goes flying. But good thing where it landed was right in that walkway, as you noted, rather than amongst all those people.
Osuna is already 22 years old. He turned 22 on February 7th this season, and boy, oh boy, how fast he has developed into a premier closer in the major leagues, pitching in the postseason back-to-back years. 1-2 pitch. The cutter missed inside. It's 2-2.
Well, Roberto is looking forward to participating in that World Baseball Classic as well. Talked about Strowman for the Team USA. Roberto will be pitching in his home country of Mexico, and there's a big reason why he chose to play in the WBC this year. These players love to play in front of their own fans.
Strike 3 call. Osuna gets the strikeout with the fastball. 1 away. Osuna will play for Team Mexico, and that will be in Jalisco, Mexico.
An electric fastball from Osuna that just freezes hitters. Russell Martin will talk about the explosiveness on his pitch. That one did right there into Salty's mitt.
One out. This is the catcher, Jacob Stallings. Back behind the plate, Francisco Cervelli will be the everyday catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and boy, has his career taken off since being traded from the Yankees to Pittsburgh. He was a backup for New York, in fact backed up Russell Martin, but now he's become a star frontline catcher for the Pirates. There's a base hit to left past Ryan Goins in the left field. Stallings has the first hit of the ball game. Well, we mentioned Osuna will be pitching for Team Mexico. I want to remind you that all of the games played during the World Baseball Classic you can see right here on Sportsnet. And the coverage begins on March 6th. That first game will be from Seoul, Korea. Israel will take on the host team, Korea, in the first game, and it all begins on March 6th. Ground ball to the right side. Smoke can't flag it down. A little dribbler goes into right field, and Gope has a bouncing ball base hit. Back-to-back one-out hits for the Buccos here in the 3rd.
Justin Smoke holding that runner on first base, and then Gope just placed this ball about as perfectly as you could, with the runner being held at the first base bag just out of the reach of Justin Smoke for a soft single into right field.
Osuna pitching in the 3rd inning, Joe. A lot of people watching are saying, well, Osuna's a closer. Why is he pitching in the 3rd inning in this game?
Well, you don't want Roberto sitting around for 2.5 hours and then pitching, but ideally you get him in early in this ball game. He's going to face more of the big league hitters, and that's what happens in spring training games.
Ground ball. This could be 2. Barney to Goins is second for 1. Back to first. Double play. Perez bounces into the inning-ending 4-6-3 double play. Osuna, after giving up a couple of hits, gets the double play. Still no score in the ball game. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, this is Wade LeBlanc, and the Blue Jays had him in camp last year. In fact, he went down and pitched in AAA Buffalo after being sent to the minor leagues. Made 14 starts for the Buffalo Bisons. Pitched so well that the Seattle Mariners acquired him, and he pitched in the big leagues with Seattle and Pittsburgh last season.
32-year-old left-hander vying for a spot in that Pirates bullpen this spring for Clint Hurdle.
Left-handers, they have 9 lives. If you throw strikes, get the ball over the plate, you can pitch a long time. We saw a long-time lefty specialist, Javi Lopez from the Giants, retire after a terrific career. Jesse Orozco's another guy that comes to mind. Mike Myers. Jose Bautista, he's the DH this afternoon and played left or right field yesterday. He's the DH here this afternoon. Lots of good things going on in this camp. Boy, everybody is really working hard, not only with their baseball skills, but in the weight room with Nicky Huffman and all the high performance people. Things are humming right along. This is Darwin Barney. Barney back with the Blue Jays, and he did such a great job as a fill-in utility player last year. Got some big hits for the Blue Jays over the course of the season. Was that one foul? You spoke to Barney about what he likes to accomplish during the course of spring training, and I thought his response was kind of interesting. Not concerned about too many at-bats.
No, he's not. And it's interesting, too, because we talked about this earlier, how every hitter is a little bit different in terms of what they need to prepare for the season. And Darwin knows early on here, it's just nice to get an at-bat or two, kind of get your feet wet, face that live pitching.
Pulls this one foul wide of third.
As you progress a little bit more into spring training and get into March and towards the middle of March, you may want 2 or 3 at-bats in that game. But some hitters will tell you, they're ready when they feel like they're on every pitch. When your timing is right on the fastball, it's also right on the secondary pitches, the off-speed pitches, and it takes a little bit longer for some than others.
Darwin's now 31 years old. Chases that off-speed pitch, bounced in the dirt. There's the throw to first to complete the strikeout. Blue Jays still looking for their first base runner. LeBlanc strikes out Barney, 1 down here in the bottom of the third. Chad Kuhl started, retired all 6 Blue Jays he's faced with a couple of strikeouts. Brian Goins playing at shortstop. Troy Tulowitzki, the Blue Jays regular shortstop, won't play until Saturday. Of course, another example of a veteran player, been through many spring trainings. Tulowitzki, like Donaldson, like Martin, like Bautista, they all know what it takes to get ready, and there's no rush for Tulo to get any spring training advance just yet.
Well, you talked about the feel in this camp this year, and it's very interesting. Here's a team that's made 2 back-to-back American League Championship Series appearances. So really there's only one place to go, and that's to the World Series. But that's the feel around this Blue Jays camp. And when I saw Tulo taking some infield drills just the other day, all the infielders were on the main stadium field here with Luis Rivera. At the very end of the entire drill that lasted about 20 minutes, Tulo came in, fielded a soft, slow roller. He went under his legs and flipped it to first, and of course everybody had a lot of fun with that. But Troy, with that sly grin on his face, he said, maybe I'll save that one for Game 7 of the World Series. And you know, when he said that, he doesn't talk a whole lot outwardly when they're out in the field like that. You don't hear a lot from Troy, but when he said that, you could just sense that feel. Is that there's unfinished business here, and that feeling is around the entire club.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I think that had a lot to do with Jose Bautista coming back to the Blue Jays. He's had such a great run with the Jays, and now he, I would assume, thinks there's some unfinished business. You get to the ALCS 2 years in a row, you're just 1 step away from going to the World Series. Bautista certainly wants to do that. Marcus Stroman's another guy that his focus is winning. All he wants to do is win. He wants to bring a championship to his organization. Bouncing ball. Bostic makes the play. 2 quick outs here in the third. Wade LeBlanc gets Goins to ground out to second.
Well, Strowman is certainly highly motivated, but very, very competitive. And we see that in everything that he does, and some of the things we've already talked about today. Not only on the mound, but in the weight room and everything that he does.
we forget sometimes that he's still just a 25-year-old and just finished his first full big league season, turning 26 in May. But these are the things that players need, are that experience, and that's how they continue to improve. So that's why I say the sky is the limit for this young man. Give him another couple of years in the big leagues. Who knows what we're going to see?
No question. He is really shown that he's a winner. He's got a 24-16 career record. Last year, he surpassed the 200-inning mark for the first time. But, you know, I just get very upset when I hear the critics say, well, the Blue Jays can't repeat what they did a year ago from the starters. Well, why not? They're young. They're in great shape. They're hard workers. And when you really think about it, nobody really pitched over their skis in my mind. They were right on time, just made quality pitches game in and game out. Gregorio Petit grounds out to the third baseman. The Blue Jays still looking for their first base runners. 9 up, 9 down for the Pirates. Osuna had a good inning, got a double play to end his outing, and now it's the lefty Aaron Loop. We'll talk more about Loop in just a minute, but now we are pleased to be joined by the starting catcher this afternoon, Jared Saltalamacchi, in his first spring training camp with the Blue Jays. Salty, great to have you aboard, and what's it been like in making this transition to the Blue Jays this spring?
Oh, I appreciate it. Tell you what, man, I was saying to Russell, I said, I can't believe I got paid for today, because you know, those two guys on the mound, it just makes it so easy. And you know, I think we on purpose went to 3-2 counts on a few of the guys with Stroh just to kind of get his pitch count up. But he's a talented young pitcher, and it's scary to see that he's getting better as he goes.
Jared, how difficult is it for a catcher, specifically that position, going to a new team? You've done it before, but coming into a spring camp and having an entire pitching staff that you need to learn.
You know, I think doing it more, you know, the past few years I've done it, so it's been a little easier on me just because I know you got to be patient. That's the biggest key. You can't really rush things. You got to earn the trust of these guys, and you know, I know it starts and ends with the guys on the mound. So, you know, I just want to catch these guys as much as possible. Bullpens in between starts. You know, every game I can get back there and try and catch them, just to kind of learn what they can do and what their stuff does, and it makes my my nerves kind of go down a little bit.
How useful was Russell Martin so far as a resource?
Russell's been great, man. I've always respected him, always loved playing against him. He's a competitor. So, you know, being able since day one, sitting down next to him in his locker and just talking for an hour and a half. You know, he's so knowledgeable, man. He cares. I mean, there's days so far where he's forgot to come and hit because he's been out there talking to pitchers and, you know, just trying to make everybody around him better, regardless of pitchers, position players. So, you know, it's a lot of fun.
Jared, you've been an everyday catcher. Now you're transitioning into the backup role. How does that change your preparation coming into a season?
You know, I tried to change my preparation at all. You know, I've always said that, you know, my pet peeve is not being prepared for a game. I would hate to look my teammates in the eyes and say, hey, listen, I wasn't prepared for tonight. You know, I'd always do my work and prepare to start every game, you know, because you never know. I mean, Russ could be down there warming a guy up and something happens and I got to go in there. So I don't want it to be my fault while we lose a game. So, you know, I prepare every game like I'm starting and, you know, just be ready.
What was the appeal about signing with the Blue Jays? Obviously, they've had success the last couple of years, but why was this such an opportunity that you wanted to take advantage of?
Oh, Buck, you know that. Do I have to even answer that?
I know that, but I want you to tell the fans.
You know what, man? Gosh, the starting pitching, the relievers, the offense. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, you know, I played against them a lot in the East, and you know, even when you're at home playing against these guys, it's a home game for them. You know, the fans travel great. You know, I think the starting pitchers were first in pretty much every category last year. So, you know, as a catcher, you respect that, you love that, you like guys that, you know, take pride in their craft. You know, so that was a good decision. Obviously, with this offense, you'd rather be on this side of the dugout than the other.
What was your opinion, Jared, of this Blue Jays club as an opposing player?
You know, it's a tough team to face, you know, at any point they can just come and put 6-7 runs on the board. So, you know, as a opposing team, you never gave in. It didn't matter if you had a 5-run lead or, you know, if you're cruising, at any point these guys can get you. So, you know, we always, after every game against these guys, you almost had to ice your brain a little bit because it's a grind.
Jared, let's go back and talk a little bit more about Marcus Strowman. I think he's primed and ready to take the next step and really pitch his way into the elite of pitchers around Major League Baseball. Talk about the quality of his pitches and the assortment. You mentioned it briefly, but how impressed have you been with what you have seen in your short time so far this spring with Strowman?
You know, I think the impressive thing for me is that you got those guys that are just, you know, born with it. They're gifted at it. You know, they can pick up a pitch that morning, use it in the game that night, and have it be effective and nasty. But, you know, the key, we were talking to him the other day, and the key is just trying to have everything come out of the same angle, same, you know, Verlander last year, I learned a lot from him with his arm angle. He wanted the curveball to come out of that same slot as his fastball. And that's something that Stroh does, and that's not easy to teach. You know, not many guys can get that. So the fact that he can do that obviously makes him that much more effective.
What do you think of these young starters? You've got Strowman and Sanchez, and then you've got a few veterans in Estrada, Happ, and Liriano. Is that just the perfect combination when you have that mix?
Like I said, I can't believe we get paid to come back here and call a game for those guys, man. They make it so much easier on us, and you know, like I said, they know that we're invested in them, and you know, at the same time, they're invested in us, and that's a perfect relationship.
Loop with runners at first and second, nobody out. This is David Freese. Jared, nobody really talks about the end. Everybody's talking about the preparation, but do you get a sense that a lot of these veteran players that have been here for a couple of years have big plans on their mind after getting to the ALCS the last couple of years?
No doubt. No doubt in my mind from day one walking into the clubhouse. I mean, every single person in here it seemed like they were coming in with a chip on their shoulder, and they were focused on one thing and one thing only. I mean, that's all we've talked about so far is just, you know, getting to that next level. I mean, we do base running today, and we were talking about what's it going to take to get to that finishing level. You know, bullpens, what's it going to take to get to the next level? You know, I mean, that's what you want to do. I mean, as a baseball player, you want to be able to compete, but you want to win. And, you know, everyone's 100% focused on that, which is a great thing.
Jared, you began your career in the Braves organization, and you made it to the big leagues with the Braves, then went to Texas, and you've had the opportunity to play some great organizations. The big focus the last couple of years here with the Blue Jays has been high performance, nutrition, and taking care of yourselves. Have you noticed a difference from some of the other teams you've been on since you've joined the Blue Jays?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the new wave. I mean, and it's great. These young players, I mean, they've got you know, everything available for them. A lot of stuff that I didn't have when I was coming up, and you know, ultimately it's going to make their careers longer. You're going to feel healthier through the season. You know, it's not about going in the weight room anymore and lifting as much as you can to see how far you can hit. It's about flexibility. It's about core stabilization. You know, a lot of stuff that as I've gotten older, it's definitely come into you know, help me in my career.
You know, Jared, it's great to have you aboard. I know you're looking forward to a great season. We certainly appreciate your time spent with us here. Good to have you in a Blue Jays uniform.
I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you guys.
All right, Salty. Thanks a lot. Jared Saltalamacchia, the starting pitcher, with a great visit with us as you watch the Pirates pull off the double steal as Juan Gratterall's throw late at third base. Marte, we mentioned 47 steals a year ago. He starts the front end of the double steal.
Well, you get a good jump, and most base runners will tell you third base is easier to steal than second base because you can get off that bag and time the pitcher, and that's exactly what he did with the left-hander Aaron Loup.
Jaso lifts it high and deep to left. Pilar giving chase, and he gives way to Siciliani. Marte tags at third. He'll come in to score. Polanco moves over to third, tagging up as well. But the Pirates are on the board. A couple of hits and a sac fly by John Jaso. And they have a 1-0 lead.
Well, that's what this Pittsburgh Pirates team can do so well. That's just stealing a run literally right there. They pulled off the double steal, and then right away the hitter hits one deep to the outfield to cash in the first run of this ball game. And that's where, as a pitcher, you have to be so cognizant with a runner on second base, especially a runner that you know can steal a bag.
And Polanco moved into second and advances to third base on the sac fly. This is Chris Bostic as he takes a first pitch changeup from Aaron Loup. The Pirates hit just 153 home runs a year ago. That's 26th in the majors, so they've got to utilize that speed to manufacture runs. Boy, a great conversation with Jared Saltalamacchia. Salty's just 31 years old. He's been around a long time. He's got over 9 years of big league service. But it's a nice sign as the Blue Jays were looking to add to their catching depth. And you bring in a veteran, a switch hitter especially. Now you've got Kendrys Morales, a switch hitter. You add Jared Saltalamacchia, a switch hitter. It gives you so many more options as a manager. Breaking ball, Luke misses. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And it really adds to the flexibility for John Gibbons as to when he can plug him into the lineup. It can be any day of the week now. Last year he was limited with Josh Tolley having to catch R.A. Dickey, but now any day Russ needs a breather, he can do it.
You know, and Russell, he's in great shape. He got onto that program with nutrition and they work out with Nicky Huffman and the high performance people, and he's in great shape. Had his knee scoped in the offseason. Got a little extra spring in his step. He's anxious to get ready for this 2017 season. 2-2 pitch off the plate outside. It's a full count.
And instead of knowing the day that Russ was going to have off, the day that Dickey was pitching, now it might be an extra inning game. Russ can go ahead and catch 11 or 12 or 13 innings, and then John Gibbons will, of course, give him the day off the next day. It might be a travel day where they get into town at 3 or 4 in the morning. Well, guess what, Russ? You've got that day off, too.
Ball 4 inside as Luke loses Bostock and missed with that fastball. So this will be the DH batting in the 7th spot. Eric Weiss. Lefty on lefty for Luke. This good opportunity to make an impression on Pete Walker, the pitching coach, and the manager. Luke making a bid to be the second lefty in that bullpen. J.P. Howell is slated to be the first left-hander down there. First pitch strike.
Well, it's a big addition, adding the veteran Howell. Now it's up to Aaron Loup to perform this spring to win a second lefty's job, but you've got other names out there as well. Of course, Matt Dermody, who the Blue Jays saw a little bit of last year. We saw Ryan Baracki the other day, somebody the Blue Jays are quite high on. Maybe not just yet, but into the future. Chad Girardo, the Blue Jays saw last year.
Jeff Beliveau, another lefty that's in camp, trying to win a job with this ball club. There aren't a whole lot of jobs available, obviously, when you have the success the Blue Jays have enjoyed the last couple of seasons. And Luke does his thing, gets the lefty to leave a couple of base runners on, but the Pirates break through. Sacrifice fly by John Jaso. Pittsburgh leads it 1-0.
Trade deadline is a day where anything can happen. Sportsnet is primed to keep you on the front lines of all the trades and breaking news. Check out Hockey Central trade deadline coverage. It all begins Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. Watch on Sportsnet or Sportsnet Now and join the conversation using hashtag #NHLTrade. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel. What's going on in the sports world? Baseball cranking up. Hockey and basketball winding their seasons down, thinking ahead to the playoffs. Wade LeBlanc in his second inning of work, working to Kevin Pillar. Blue Jays still don't have a base runner today. 9 up, 9 down. Pirates pitchers have registered 3 strikeouts. Bautista will follow Kevin Pillar. Jose's the DH this afternoon. And then it'll be the catcher's spot. Juan Gratterall is behind the plate now. Took over for Jared Saltalamacchia. Kevin Pillar is working on a few things this spring, trying to develop a consistent separation with his stride and his hands, working them apart as opposed to moving those hands as he strides.
A little smaller load this spring than we saw last year with the higher leg kick. Still, it's almost like a mini leg kick right now. One issue with hitters that have the big leg kick is when that leg comes up, you can almost fall forward a little bit. When you fall forward and your hands come with you, you're in big trouble. He's trying to control that a little bit more and be shorter to the ball.
3-2 pulled foul. Kevin's now 28 years old, and he has become a fixture in center field for the Blue Jays. Had his best season in 2015 when he hit 12 home runs and drove home 56. Of course, we all know what a great defensive center fielder Pillar is, but he wants to be known as a complete player. Hit for a high average and hit with more power. Well, the Blue Jays finally have a base runner. Kevin Pillar leads things off here in the bottom of the 4th with a leadoff walk. Veteran Jared Saltalamacchia gets his work in. Rest of the day is a little bit of a workout, but he gets a chance to say hello to some Blue Jay fans for the first time here at Florida Auto Exchange Stadium. Jose Bautista caught looking at strike 3 his first time up. First pitch changeup in there for a strike.
Salty alluded to it. That was probably the easiest part of his day, catching a couple of innings with Marcus Strowman on the mound. It's like sitting in a chair back there. Most catchers, what they'll do in the morning is they'll catch a couple of pitchers on the side in a bullpen session. Then they'll come get their work in the batting cage and on the field. So a lot of the hardest work is actually happening in the mornings before the game.
Yeah, it's just like a manager. You know, the games are the best part of the day. You don't have a lot of responsibility, but I don't know about you. I changed teams a couple of times, and when you go to a new team as a catcher, you want to make sure you have every opportunity to catch all of the pitchers. You never know who's going to be a mid-season call-up, somebody that's in camp that might not make the team, but you want to make sure you get a chance to catch them, see what they feature and how they throw.
And that's a very good point, because it's easy to say you want to catch the 5 guys in the starting rotation and the relievers that are going to head north with this club, but it's all those guys on the fence that you may not see right away, but if they get called up in June, Salty wants to have seen them in spring training just to be acquainted with them.
Bautista fights it off and fouls it out of play. I can remember over the years when I was playing and we make a mid-season acquisition and you walk to the mound and introduce yourself to a pitcher for the first time and say, what do you throw?
Exactly. That should have happened in the bullpen. I'm Joe, nice to meet you, but sometimes it happens right in the heat of battle.
1-2 to Bautista. Another changeup misses outside.
So if people want to know what conversations go on the mound, well, sometimes it's introducing yourself.
Pillar with the lead at first. Bautista chases that pitch up and away and strikes out. 1 down here in the bottom of the 4th.
Don't normally see a lot of that from Bautista, expanding the zone that time on an off-speed pitch from LeBlanc, but that's what you will see early in the spring when the hitters are just still trying to get that timing down, and that'll come with more and more at-bats against live pitching. Jose, of course, getting ready for that World Baseball Classic.
This is Juan Graterol, who took over behind the plate for Jared Saltalamacchia. Graterol's 28 years old. He is from Venezuela. Maracay, Venezuela. He was born in Maracay, lives now in Nicaragua. Spent some time last season with the Angels, got up to the big leagues with Los Angeles, played in 9 games, had 14 at-bats. His first big league opportunity. Signed with the Royals, has spent time with the Yankees in the minor leagues. Blue Jays claimed him on waivers from the Angels on January 23rd this season. Can never have too many catchers, and you bring up minor league catchers to help you out in spring training, but also you need to add depth in your minor league system. Blue Jays had a prospect that they expected to compete for an opportunity to play in the big leagues, A.J. Jimenez, and he was taken off the roster. He eventually signed with the Texas Rangers, so now he's in camp with Texas out in Arizona.
A.J. had a tough time staying healthy, and I know that John Gibbons talked about him last spring and into last season. It's just very difficult for a player if they cannot stay on the field.
Well, he had Tommy John surgery, and that really set him back as well. And as we've seen with Matt Wieters, all-star Gold Glove catcher, who too went through Tommy John surgery. It takes a catcher a long time to come back from Tommy John surgery. 1-1 pitch off the end of the bat. Christian Vasquez, the young catcher with the Red Sox, he too went through Tommy John surgery, and he's still not up to 100% of where he was prior to the surgery, but they're hopeful that he'll get back into competition for the catching duties in Boston.
And we've seen a little bit of Vasquez already, and there is a lot to like. Tremendous arm strength, does such a great job behind the plate.
We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Pittsburgh, a run on 3 hits. The Blue Jays still don't have a base hit. Ground ball, this could be 2. I'll stop 2 in Volpe. Back to first, it is a double play. So Blue Jays get a base runner, but the double play ends the inning. Down in Florida, it's time to grill them up. How about a hot hamburger right down here? Don't worry, folks. Sooner or later, we'll do that in Toronto.
On December 28th, Anthony Alford's family home where his parents lived in Columbia, Mississippi, burned to the ground. They lost everything, including Alford's childhood baseball memorabilia. He said it was a very stressful time for him because he was also getting ready for camp. But thanks to the generosity of total strangers in the Blue Jays organization, Alford told me that his parents have now settled into a new home, and his sister, who is about to have a baby in April, has received 3 times the amount of baby shower gifts than that she lost in the fire. Alford told me that as an athlete, sometimes people are always wanting something from you. He said having gone through this whole ordeal, he's been overwhelmed by people wanting to give to him and his family. And Buck, for those still interested to help the Alford family, their GoFundMe page is aptly named Rising from the Ashes.
That's a great story, and certainly a lot of the Blue Jays teammates of Anthony Alford chipped in to help his family overcome the loss of that house, and now they are settled back in a home. And Anthony, what a pleasant young man he is, Joe. A chance to talk with him. He's always got a smile on his face. And you mentioned what an athlete he is. He played quarterback in college, then he switched to defensive back, and now he's playing baseball, and this will be his 3rd full season working at his skills.
An excellent story, a feel-good story. Certainly the baseball community is a tight one, and Anthony Alford's family getting that help. But a tremendous athlete, and making that transition back to the baseball field, it's not been an easy one. He said that he's sustained injuries. He had a knee injury last year playing in the Florida State League right here for Dunedin. He's had concussions. He said when he was playing football, a lot of people said, you should go play baseball. It's much safer. He said, I had more injuries in baseball than I had in football. Definitely more concussions from collisions out in the outfield, so he can't figure that one out.
New pitcher for the Blue Jays is Ryan Tepera, working to the catcher Jacob Stallings. Tepera takes over for Aaron Loup. Tepera is the 4th Blue Jays pitcher to work here this afternoon. Tepera is a very interesting guy, Joe. He's got terrific stuff, and he pitched well at the end of the season last year. He pitched his way onto the postseason roster.
He's got a very big arm. That fastball will be up around 95, 96 miles per hour. Slider, cutter, and split. What he's throwing now and working on in spring training this year is his changeup. He used to be a starter, and the changeup was a big pitch for him, but once he got moved to the bullpen and, of course, got to the big leagues, he hasn't needed that changeup, so it's a pitch he's working on again.
Sharp base hit up the middle, kicks off the mound, goes all the way into center field for the catcher, Jacob Stallings. A leadoff single here in the 5th. Let's see, 4th base hit for the Pirates.
Tepera's got the high-powered fastball, but anytime a pitcher is in the mid-90s, it's still important to locate the pitch, and he leaves this pitch out over the plate to Stallings, and Stallings does a nice job pounding it right back through the box and up the middle.
This is the shortstop, Ngope. Ngope had a base hit. He slapped it through the right side of the infield into right field. He's also turned a nice double play here this afternoon. Foul straight back. Tepera is now 29 years old, and one problem he has is that he still has an option left. And that comes into play, obviously, with the fact that he can be sent down to the minor leagues, and the Blue Jays won't risk losing him to another organization. They'll just option him down to AAA Buffalo, and then, like he did last year, could play on the shuttle. There's a ground ball to third. Petit to second for 1. Nice scoop over at first by Justin Smoke. Barney's throw was short of the mark, but Justin Smoke's there to help him out. Scoops it out of the dirt for the double play.
Well, it's a nice comeback there by Ryan Tepera, and you talk about those options. He was certainly on that shuttle last year, and it's not a lot of fun, but after giving up the leadoff single here, he's able to get Ngope out front. Pulls it over to the left side. Good turn at the second base bag by Darwin Barney, but the throw was low. Justin Smoke does what he does best, and that's digging that ball right out of the dirt and catching it cleanly.
Boy, Smoke gives the infielder so much confidence overall. First and foremost, he's a big target over there at first base. And secondly, if they make an errant throw, he's able to use those good hands and dig it out of the dirt. Smokey had an interesting day yesterday, didn't he?
I saw him by his locker this morning, and he was stretching a little bit. And I said, you a little sore from yesterday? And he just had that big grin. He said, oh, my goodness. And of course, the shortstop Richard Urania on his birthday had a rough day. A couple of errant throws around that first base bag. Had smoke going all over the place.
Gary Perez, the right fielder, bunts right through it. He's behind Tepera 0-2.
Oftentimes we talk about the hands around the first base bag and digging balls out of the dirt, but what Justin does so well too, first basemen have to have good feet. A lot of times you're manipulating your feet around the bag due to throws being off the mark, and he does it very well. Very good hand-eye, working both the hands and the feet.
Ratterall not sure what Tepera wants to do to try to finish off this at bat. It's 0-2. Ryan Tepera has a great fastball. He'll throw it in the upper 90s, 96, 97. And I think Blue Jays would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive with that fastball, get ahead in the count, then use his secondary pitches to finish off the at-bats.
A lot of pitchers in, say, the last 5 to 10 years have fallen in love with this pitch called the cutter. It's a cut fastball, and it can be a very good pitch, but I think when you throw 95, 97, just throw a four-seam fastball where you want it.
That looked like a cutter right there, and it's pulled through the hole in short into left field for Perez. He has a 2-out base hit.
Oftentimes when a cutter does not do what you want it to do, for me it basically becomes a bad fastball. So instead of going 95 to 97 with a four-seam fastball, the cutter's going to be 90, 91, and it's spinning and stays right in the same spot. You've just helped that hitter out immensely.
Well, Tepera gives up the 2-out base hit, and now we'll have a pinch hitter for Starling Marte, the center fielder, the left-handed hitting Danny Ortiz. Pinch hitting here in the 5th. Marte has scored the only run of this game. He finishes up the afternoon 1 for 2 with a double and a run scored. Also adding in a stolen base. Two outs, top of the 5th. Pirates with a 1-0 lead. There goes the runner. Cut on and fouled off at home plate by Ortiz. Ryan Tepera, the 4th Blue Jays pitcher to work. If you missed it, Marcus Strowman was impressive. Strowman threw 31 pitches over 2 clean innings. He picked up 3 strikeouts, and it looked like he had everything working. He will have one more start before he leaves the Blue Jays and joins Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. There's another base hit through the left side. Ortiz gets a pinch hit single. That'll push Perez to second. Let's go and look back at the Strowman outing. He was pretty sharp, Joe.
Well, Marcus Strowman has to feel very good about his first outing as he prepares for that World Baseball Classic, but he was right on. He was in midseason form today. Fastball was good, 93, 94 miles per hour. Had that slider working down and in on the lefties, down and away to the righties. But to see that good, sharp, late-breaking slider and curveball already here early this spring, it looks like he's been throwing for a couple of months.
Jim Leyland's the manager for Team USA, and Leyland's really interested to have Strowman on the team. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Marcus Strowman getting the nod to start against the Dominican Republic when those two teams meet up in Miami. I saw Leyland in Lakeland the other day, and he was singing the praises of Marcus Strowman. He goes, I love that kid. He's got great life on his fastball. I love his enthusiasm. Got a wicked slider. So it'll be interesting to see how Leyland lines up Strowman for his opportunity to pitch for Team USA. This is Gregory Polanco, the left fielder. Polanco with the count in his favor, 2-0.
And it's interesting you use that word enthusiasm that Jim Leyland used to describe Strowman, and we see it every start when he takes them out. A lot of energy out there, and that's one of those things that I think sometimes can get you in trouble. And that's why if you can just bring it down a notch, take a deep breath out on the field, and just slow the game down. That's why I say the sky is the limit for Marcus Strowman, because he is such a great, great athlete.
There's a strike. 2-1 now. 2 outs. We're in the 5th inning. Strowman started. He had 2 great innings. Roberto Osuna followed suit. He had a strikeout and got a double play in his inning of work. Aaron Loup gave up the only run of this ball game. Loup charged with a run on 1 hit, 2 walks, and a sac fly off the bat of John Jason.
That's the cutter from Ryan Tepera at 88 miles per hour, and that was a good one. So when it's good, it's very good. It's just when that cutter does not break, doesn't get that little movement, he wants to have a little depth to it. It's basically a small slider, but when you don't get that little break, that's when you're in trouble. And Tepera's been hurt by that with the long ball in the big leagues.
Comes right back with the same pitch and gets a strikeout. Ryan Tepera gets out of the inning, leaves a couple of base runners with the strikeout. They go to the bottom of the 5th. Blue Jays down by a run, 1-0 Pittsburgh.
Is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Thank you very much, Hazel May. Great to have you with us here in Florida. Opportunity to see all the new Blue Jays and get reacquainted with the holdovers, and it's going to be an upbeat season. I'm with Joe Siddle, Buck Martinez here in Dunedin, Florida, and we're going to have spring games for you all spring long. It'll all be capped off by 2 great games in Montreal at the Big O. These same Pittsburgh Pirates will be there to wrap up spring training. New pitcher is the big right-hander Nick Kingham, and he'll face Justin Smoak, his first batter. Smoak goes right back up the middle, sneaks through for a base hit. Justin Smoak gets a leadoff single here in the 5th. That's the first Blue Jays base hit of the afternoon.
It's a very good sign for Justin Smoak to stay in the middle of the field like that. I saw him during batting practice today and was talking to both Brooke Jacoby and Darren Shelton about staying on the ball a little bit longer. He's had that tendency to get to the baseball but then spin off it, and that's when you see those slow rollovers to the right side. This time he stays through the zone just long enough with that bat to get it up the middle for a base hit.
Daryl Siciliani, the left fielder, takes a first pitch strike. Rowdy Tellez takes over as a pinch runner at first base for Justin Smoak. There's a fly ball to right. Sounded like he may have broken his bat. It's going to settle just shy of the wall, and Perez makes the catch in right. Well, Rowdy Tellez is in his 2nd spring training camp with the Blue Jays, and there have been a lot of talk about Tellez. He had a double in his first at bat this spring over in Orlando against the Atlanta Braves, and Joey's coming off a big season at Double-A. He had 297 in Double-A and showed lots of power.
Well, it's a very impressive season at the AA level, because once you get out of A ball, now you're starting to talk about pitchers that have a pretty good idea. Number one, they have good arms, but they also have pretty good secondary stuff. When I talked to Rowdy about that, the biggest thing that he noticed, number one, is that the pitchers are just a little bit more polished, but he certainly answered the bell. He said that they still will, even though it's the minor leagues, they will shift. And he couldn't understand sometimes why they shift him. He said, I use the whole field, so if they do that, he'll go against it. But this is a guy that can handle the bat with tons of power as well.
Another thing that the minor league managers and coaches have told us about Tellez is that he's got good plate discipline. We saw that in the game against the Braves when he was facing the veteran John Danks, a lefty on lefty situation, and Tellez took a close pitch for ball 4, walked against Danks. And Joe, you know, as a young player like Tellez and Alford here in this camp, they want to do something with the bat. They want to get base hits. So for Tellez to show that kind of discipline, that's pretty impressive early in spring.
Well, that's a very good point, Buck, because you're right on about those young players. They get a chance to play in front of the big league manager and coaching staff, and you want to impress. And you think a walk does not impress, but that walk the other day by Tellez impressed a lot of people in the Blue Jays dugout.
Yeah, he was hitting with a man at second and first base open, an opportunity to drive in a run, but at the same time, Tellez has the awareness of thinking, you know what, John Danks probably not going to give me much to hit with the base open.
It's very easy to expand the zone in that situation as a hitter and try to do too much. When you do that, that's when you play right into the pitcher's hand.
Tellez takes off for second and picks up a stolen base. Well, don't get used to Rowdy Tellez stealing a lot of bases. He's not a base stealer. But Tim Raines, the Hall of Famer, told us Rowdy Tellez is one of the best base runners in the organization.
Well, very interesting from the big man. When you see him at first base, this is not a standstill kind of stolen base. This is cheating a little bit. And sometimes runners, what they'll do is they'll keep their feet moving if that pitcher's not paying attention. That's what you mean by being a smart base runner. If you can get those feet moving and get a jump, go ahead and take it. And that's exactly what Rowdy did.
It's important in a one-run game. He's got himself in scoring position now with 2 outs. This is Darwin Barney, the second baseman. Ball in the dirt, blocked by Stallings. 2 away now as Alford struck out for the second out of the inning, while Tellez is credited with a stolen base. And the ball in the dirt. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Joe. I've got a little soft spot in my heart for Rowdy Tellez. He went to my high school. We were separated by a couple of years. Rowdy will tell you 50.
3 or 4 or 30 or 40.
Elk Grove High School, south of Sacramento, California. Ground ball to short. Gope across the diamond. That'll end the inning as Barney hit it hard, but right to the shortstop. So the Blue Jays leave a base runner in scoring position. 5 in the books here in Florida. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh. Danny Barnes comes into the ball game, takes over for the Blue Jays here to start the top of the 6th. And Danny Barnes made a very positive impression with the Blue Jays last year when he was called up late in the season.
Well, he sure did. He's got a good fastball, right around 92, 93 miles per hour with the slider and changeup, but the strikeouts were up. He's got a very deceptive ball. Russ Martin used to tell me last season how that ball just jumped on hitters, and there's oftentimes a deception there in a pitcher's delivery that allows that ball to explode on the hitter.
Rowdy Tellez came in as a pinch runner. He takes over defensively at first base. Ryan Goins started at short. He's now playing second. Darwin Barney is out of the game. Eric Wood swings at the first pitch and hits it off the wall in center. Pilar plays it perfectly, but it's going to be a stand-up double for Eric Wood. Wood came into the game defensively at third base for David Freese, and he gets himself a double to start the 6th.
Well, Wood wasted no time getting the first pitch from Danny Barnes coming in out of the bullpen, trying to get ahead with a fastball, and he left that up and out over the plate. Wood does a nice job drilling this ball into the right center gap, and it may have been just the wind that kept this ball in the ballpark.
Gregorio Petit moves from third base to shortstop as Goins moves over to second, and Jonathan Diaz takes over defensively at third. Back with the Blue Jays after a couple of seasons out of the organization. This is John Jaso. He has the only RBI of the game. It came back in the 4th inning. He had a sac fly to left field. Danny Barnes had quite a season a year ago, and it started in Double-A New Hampshire. He appeared in 24 games in Double-A, had a 2-1 record with a 101 earned run average. He didn't give up anything in Double-A. Pitched 35 2/3 innings, allowed just 17 hits. Then he was promoted to Triple-A Buffalo, and he continued to dazzle hitters in Triple-A. He allowed just 6 hits in 25 2/3 innings. All the while walked 2 and struck out 37.
Just kept getting people out.
Bouncing ball over the mound. Goins near the bag at second. Throws Jaso out on the out. Eric Wood moves to third base.
Funny how when you keep getting people out, others take notice, and that's exactly what happened for Danny Barnes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Barnes will not light up the radar gun. He doesn't have a particularly overpowering pitch, but he throws strikes and locates his fastball very well. For the Blue Jays, a year ago, he appeared in 12 games. He walked 5 and struck out 14 in his first big league opportunity. Infield is drawn in with the runner at third and 1 out. This is Chris Bostic, the starting second baseman this afternoon. He's 0 for 1 with a walk.
Infield playing in here. We'll see if Barnes maybe tries to go inside with a fastball to try to tie the hitter up.
Fouled back, out of play, 1-2. This is what we saw from Barnes. He pounds that strike zone. He comes right at you.
He does. He went away there, and that surprises me a little bit. Now up 0-2. Perhaps he'll try to come back inside. Ideally, you want to keep the ball in on the hitter's hand so that he cannot extend those arms and get the barrel to the baseball to drive it past the drawn-in infield. We'll see if he comes in this time.
Balk is called by the first base umpire as Barnes got in between as he started his motion up, and that runner comes in from third. Chris Bostock at the plate as Eric Wood comes in with the second run of the ball game. He scores on the balk committed by Danny Barnes. There's a strike on the corner, and that's the second out of the inning as Bostock is called out on strikes. So Barnes looked like he was in between signs, and as he started up, he hesitated, and he was called for the balk.
And these kinds of things can happen when you're working with an unfamiliar catcher. He's getting the signs, but as you're doing that, you're getting the signs, and as a pitcher you start to come upset, but as you start, the catcher had done something with his sign sequence that you weren't familiar with. So ideally what you want to do is just step off, but it happened a little bit too late, therefore the balk's called.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Joe, but when I was catching, I used to tell my pitchers, make sure I stop before you get into the set position. Let me stop giving you signs and don't anticipate the pitch that I'm going to call. Sometimes that's the problem. Pitchers anticipate that you're going to call a fastball, and you might not be done with your signal calling.
And that can happen with a pitcher that you're very familiar with because you're so far on the same page, but you're right on. You have to wait till the catcher's done that sequence and then say yes or no and proceed from there. But especially in that situation, that's a big play in this ball game here in a tight game.
This is Eric Weiss, the DH. He has been called out on strikes in both of his plate appearances today.
What's probably more frustrating than anything for Danny Barnes right there is the perfect situation to try to pitch out of that jam after giving up that leadoff double.
Three and two pitch, 2 outs in the top half of the 6th inning. Off the plate, ball 4. So Weiss aboard for the first time today. Draws the 2-out walk from Danny Barnes. So this will be a pinch hitter. Jin D. Yang from Taiwan will hit for the catcher. Zhang is a catcher, left-handed batter. Bounces it to Tellez. Easy out, 1 pitch. That ends the inning, but the Pirates get their second run on a balk charge to Danny Barnes. 2-0 Pittsburgh as we head to the bottom of the 6th.
Bringer of Rain umbrella presented by Sonnet. Sunday, April 16th, the first 20,000 fans will receive a Bringer of Rain umbrella when the Orioles visit the Blue Jays. First pitch, 1:07 p.m. For tickets, visit bluejays.com. Buck.
Thank you, Hazel. Obviously, that'll be a big attraction when you get a chance to come out and share a day with JD. And there is Josh Donaldson. He's out throwing, of course. Donaldson injured his calf early in the spring running sprints. But Joe, you and I around the clubhouse, we see JD all the time. He is in terrific shape.
Well, he's hopping around like there's nothing wrong, so I don't think there's any real concern for Blue Jays fans. This is a freak little thing that happened, just running a sprint here early in camp. You don't like it, you don't want it to happen, but Players have said for years that spring training's too long, and this year it's even longer with the WBC, so he's got plenty of time to get ready for opening day.
Ryan Goins takes the first pitch strike. Goins getting his second at bat of the afternoon, grounded out to second base his first time up. There's a drive to right field. This ball is hit hard, and Clark Egan, just in defensively in right field, makes the running catch just shy of the wall in right. Goins gave it a ride.
That's a good swing by Ryan Goins. Hit this ball rather solidly deep into right field, but the wind may have kept it in the ballpark today, as the outfielder has just enough room on the warning track.
This is Gregorio Petit now playing at shortstop. He started at third base. He grounded out third, his only time up today. Nick Kingham, the big right-hander, in his second inning of work. Josh Donaldson behind the rest of his teammates, obviously taking care of that calf injury. But he's not too concerned about it. I mean, my goodness, the Blue Jays have 30 more spring training games left before they start the regular season.
Well, John Gibbons talked about that today. Troy Tulowitzki, who has not appeared in a ball game yet either. Spring training is a long time, and Tulo does not need to be in the games just yet, hoping to play baseball into late October once again.
Donaldson hit .284 a year ago, 32 doubles, 5 triples, and 37 home runs. He fell 1 RBI shy of 100. But boy, did he have a great postseason.
Well, that's one thing that Josh does. He competes. He's got a ton of talent. But when you see what he did in the postseason, and he was hobbled as well. We talked about Russell Martin being hobbled down the stretch last season. So was Josh. He had that hip issue in September. But, you know, he has the ability. We talk about slowing the game down and making an adjustment. He knew he was going to have difficulties driving balls out of the ballpark, so he just tried to get his hits and help his club any way he could.
Petit caught looking at strike 3. 2 quick outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Donaldson went 2 for 5 in a wild card game against Baltimore. And then he really turned it up against the Texas Rangers when the Blue Jays swept the Rangers in 3 straight. He scored the winning run on that air at first base, head first slide into home. But JD was 7 for 13 against Texas with 4 doubles. And then in the ALCS against the Indians, 6 for 18. He had a double and a home run against the Indians. But he had a terrific postseason. And we talked to Russell Martin today. We mentioned that earlier and got around to talking about Josh Donaldson. And boy, Martin's got a lot of high praise for his teammate, third baseman Josh Donaldson.
He's got a lot of high praise for his teammates, and I think his teammates would have a lot of high praise for him. We haven't talked to them about Russell yet, but that's the value some of these veteran players bring to the club that you can never put a number on.
Russell was very interesting in talking about Donaldson. When Donaldson's talking with his teammates, he comes right out and tells you what he's trying to do. I want to hit 50 home runs this year. I want to hit 300. I mean, if you set low standards, you're probably going to meet those low standards. But Donaldson is always confident that he can put up big numbers.
And everybody's different. Josh is not afraid to come out and tell you what he thinks. Other guys are a little quieter, and that's fine. They come in all different shapes and sizes. But more importantly, it's that attitude and that confidence that these great players have. Of course, they're very gifted. They have tremendous abilities, and I'm sure we'd all be confident if we had their abilities. But they can execute. But it's important to always set that bar a little higher than what you want to attain.
Kevin Pillar drills this one in the gap. That's going to go all the way to the wall. Bangs up against the wall in deep left center, and he jogs into second with a 2-out double. Good swing by Pillar there, and he ends up with a 1-for-2 day and a walk. He'll give way to the pinch runner now as his day has come to an end with a 2-out double here in the 6th.
Well, we talked earlier in the broadcast about Kevin abbreviating that leg kick a little bit. It's a smaller move to the baseball, and that way it keeps your hands back and in a good, strong hitting position, and he gets the barrel to the baseball easily here. A good mid-90s fastball that time from Kingham, and Pillar drilled it into the left center gap.
Dwight Smith Jr. takes over defensively, or excuse me, as a pinch runner at second base, and Kingham is getting a visit from the pitching coach Ray Searage. And we might see a mid-inning pitching change, or it looks like he's just giving Kingham a little advice about pitching to Jose Bautista. Hey, Nick, this guy's a two-time home run champ.
Don't want to put any negative thoughts in your head, but
Bautista has struck out looking and once swinging. He's 0 for 2 so far today. Yesterday, Jose had a single and a double. 2 hits on the afternoon. This will probably be his last at bat of the day.
getting his third at bat of the day. Don't often see this from the regulars early in spring camp like this, but we've talked about it a lot. So Jose heading to the WBC, playing for the Dominican Republic. John Gibbons doing everything he can to prepare him for that.
Bautista spent parts of 5 seasons with the Pirates. He appeared in 400 games for Pittsburgh. Hit just 43 home runs, and of course then he was acquired by the Blue Jays, and that's when his career really took off. Everything fell into place once he came to the Blue Jays. Strike is called on the check swing, and you can hear the fans react to their thoughts about that. Bautista was acquired by the Blue Jays August 21st, 2008 from the Pittsburgh Pirates in a trade that sent Robinson Diaz to Pittsburgh. I said the Blue Jays won that trade.
Who would have thought? And you talk about late bloomers in their careers. I think Jose fits that category very well.
In his 9 years with the Blue Jays, Bautista's hit 265 home runs. He won batting, he won home run crowns in 2010 and 2011. Pulled foul. Bautista has led the American League in walks twice in his career. 132 walks in 2011, 110 in 2015. He's a 6-time All-Star and a 3-time Silver Slugger. Great to have him back with the Blue Jays in the middle of this order. 1-2 count. Dwight Smith Jr. at second base as the pinch runner. Bautista has terrific strike zone awareness.
I don't think there's any doubt what Jose's trying to do at the plate. He is a pull hitter. That's his pull power for sure, but most balls, you'll see him sometimes go up the middle, very rarely the other way. But he'll do damage when the pitcher misses in the middle.
Broken bat, that's over the head of the second baseman. Smith comes in to score. Bautista puts the Jays on the board. RBI single to center. So Bautista finishes up on a high note. He broke his bat but picked up the RBI single. He gives way to the pinch runner, Edward Palacios. Excuse me, Edward Olivares is the pinch runner.
See, Jose tried to stay on this ball just long enough. He will open up with his swing, and that ball on the outer part of the plate gets it off the end of the bat, but stays on it just enough. He breaks his bat, but to get it into shallow center field to drive in the Blue Jays' first run.
Well, Clint Hurdle is out. He's going to make a pitching change. New pitcher will be Montana Durapau when we come back, a right-hander. broadcast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Beautiful afternoon here in Florida. Blue Jays trail by a run. Jose Bautista put the Jays on the board here in the 6th. The new pitcher is Montana Rapau. He is from Deltona, Florida. Drafted by the Pirates in 2014, a 32nd round pick out of Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Beach. Edward Olivares took over as a pinch runner for Jose Bautista. He is at first base. This is Juan Gratterol getting his second plate appearance of the afternoon. Jared Saltalamacchia got the start. Had just one at bat, but he had an opportunity to catch Marcus Strowman and Roberto Osuna in his 3 innings of work. Saltalamacchia played in the game yesterday, a split squad affair against the New York Yankees, and hit a home run in that game. (2-1) Pittsburgh. There goes the runner. Throw from the catcher is in the dirt. Nice play at second base by Alan Hansen. Second baseman made a nice grab of the low throw to put the tag on Olivares. That ends the inning, but the Blue Jays get a run. 2-1 Pittsburgh. We'll head to the 7th. The ball game for the Blue Jays is the left-hander T.J. House. He is another newcomer to this Blue Jays spring training camp. Last year in AAA, House appeared with the Indians, and he is a guy that Blue Jays want to take a look at. Added depth, possibly as a starter in AAA for the time being. Blue Jays continue to make some changes. Kevin Pillar is out of the game. Bautista no longer the DH. He's been lifted from this ball game as well. That is Tim Lopes, who's come in to play second base defensively. Minor leaguer called over. Jonathan Diaz into the game at short. John Birdie takes over at third base defensively. Birdie is a super utility player, plays all over the infield and the outfield. So it's Birdie at third, Diaz at short, Lopes at second. Now Siciliani started in left field. He moves to center. Kevin Pillar is out of the ball game, and Dwight Smith Jr. is playing in left field. He came into the game as a pinch runner for Pilar. DJ House, the left-hander. Max Maroff, the shortstop, gets his first plate appearance, and he is called out on strikes. House wears glasses. You could see they slipped off his face as he delivered that last pitch.
And pitchers that wear those glasses, a lot of times they'll have the elastic behind strapped to their head, but he lost him on that last pitch, but it was worth it. He locked him up with a fastball on the inside part of the plate.
This is Clark Egan, the right fielder. He came into the game defensively in right. He gets his first at bat of the afternoon. Pulls that one foul. House has spent parts of the last 3 seasons with the Cleveland Indians. Total of 27 games, 22 starts over those 3 seasons. Last year, he appeared in just 4 games, a total of 2 2/3 innings. Spent most of the time in the minor leagues. Bouncing ball, Lopes has it at second, throws to first in plenty of time, 2 away.
That's another depth move for the Blue Jays, adding a left-hander like House, familiar, of course, with Mark Shapiro and Ross Adkins from the Cleveland Indians organization. And it's always great when you are aware of the talent that you're acquiring, and that familiarity certainly helps in this situation.
House is 27 years old. He was originally drafted by the Indians in 2008. Drafted out of high school, Picayune, Mississippi. This is Danny Ortiz, who came into the game as a pinch hitter in the 5th and picked up an RBI single while batting for Starling Marte. Pittsburgh leads it 2-1. Pirates have scored on a sac fly and the balk. Blue Jays scored their only run on an RBI single by Jose Bautista in the bottom of the 6th, and we are now in the 7th. There's a strike 2-1 to Danny Ortiz.
House has a bit of a slinging crossfire delivery. You can see how he really closes that front shoulder off. Got to be tough on left-handed hitters to pick up the baseball as he comes across his body.
Good pitch there as he evens the count at 2-2.
That stride foot, as opposed to being linear right in the direction of home plate, it's almost stepping towards that first base dugout. Provides some deception, makes it difficult on the hitter to pick up the baseball out of his left hand.
House is valuable if he can make this team as a second lefty, because he has started in the past. He could be a long man working from the left side. Last year in AAA with the Indians at Columbus, he made 12 starts, appeared in 33 games overall. Not many teams can afford the luxury of long men down in their bullpen anymore. Everybody's just about a 1-inning pitcher, specialists. But then again, if you're like the Blue Jays and have great starting staff, you don't need too many long men.
Go deep into ball games, and we've seen the Blue Jays starters go into the 6th and 7th inning quite often.
This is chopped over the mound. Jonathan Diaz can't make the play. Diaz, the journeyman minor league infielder, has great hands. He just couldn't make the play. It's a do-or-die play for the shortstop. It should be an infield hit for Ortiz.
And as a hitter, as soon as you chop this ball and you know it's going over the mound, you are running for your life to get that base hit. Jonathan Diaz felt that he had one play, and that was to hurry up with that quick transfer, and he's just unable to transfer that baseball cleanly into his throwing hand.
The batter is Barrett Barnes. He entered the game defensively in left field, took over for Gregory Polanco. The Pirates trying to bounce back after a disappointing 2016, went 78-83 after a 98-win season in 2015. In 2013, they lost in the division series. 2014 wild card loss. 2015 they lost in the wild card game for a second straight year.
Well, General Manager Neil Huntington continues to talk about trying to contend each year despite the limitations of that lower payroll for a small market team.
There's a deep drive to left, but that's going to hook well foul off the bat of Barrett Barnes.
And to do that, organizations like the Pirates, they must hit with the draft. They must hit with their international signings. It's very important. We have heard so often about the analytics portion of the game from the Pittsburgh Pirates. We know a lot of teams get caught up in the shifts and ground ball pitchers and disciplined hitters, versatile athletic defenders, all these different things. But the bottom line is organizations like this have to be very adept when it comes to draft time.
You see the record a year ago, the Cubs 103 wins. Of course, they won the World Series. Cardinals, they're not going to go anywhere. They're exactly what you're talking about. Farm system year in and year out, cranking out players, keeping their overall costs down. Barnes strikes out. P.J. House gets him and ties him up with an inside pitch. The Pirates leave a base runner. We go to the bottom of the seventh. 2-1 Pittsburgh.
The fans here in Dunedin, and if you're a fan of hockey, you're in for one treat. Catch an NHL doubleheader on Hockey Night in Canada. First, Max Pacioretty and the Canadiens take on Rick Nash and the hometown Rangers. Then, Henrik Zetterberg and the Red Wings face off against Connor McDavid and the Oilers at Rogers Place. It's Hockey Night in Canada, Saturday on CBC.
Connor Green making some Blue Jay fans very happy as he obliges them with autographs down the right field line. He had an outing yesterday. It didn't go so well for him. He got hit around a little bit, but all the while he touched 100 miles an hour with a couple of pitches in his outing. He worked an inning plus 2 batters, but it didn't go quite as he had hoped. New pitcher for the Pirates is Clay Holmes. Holmes is 6'5", 230. He's 23 years old. He was born in Dothan, Alabama. Pirates drafted him in 2011 in the 9th round. Last year he pitched at Double-A, went 10-9 in 26 starts for Altoona. That was in the Eastern League, so you can bet there's some of these Blue Jay players that have seen Holmes before. Rowdy Tellez is on deck. He played at New Hampshire in the Eastern League, so you can bet he knows Clay Holmes. Gratterall took over after Jared Saltalamacchia started the game behind the plate. grounded into a double play in the 4th. He was at the plate in the bottom of the 6th inning when Edward Olivares was caught stealing to end the inning.
Holmes with that tall frame really works that downhill plane. Non-fastball 93 to 96 miles per hour we've seen already here this inning. Graterol just trying to stay alive and get a piece.
He swings and misses. That's the first out of the bottom of the 7th inning. So Rowdy Tellez, who came into the ballgame as a pinch runner for Justin Smoke back in the 5th, get his first plate appearance.
Holmes working from the first base side of the rubber, but this is a fastball in the inner part of the plate. 97 miles per hour. Some good movement down and in, and Graterol swings right over top of the baseball. Good fastball from the big, tall right-hander.
Rowdy Tellez a year ago in AA New Hampshire hit .297 with 23 homers and 81 driven in. Tellez is one of the real power hitting prospects in the Blue Jays system, but while he has power, Joe, from what we have seen, he's got pretty good idea at the plate.
He does, and even that first pitch right there from Holmes, he thought it was inside. The umpire called it a strike and didn't show a whole lot of emotion, but you could see that he disagreed with the call. Pretty good knowledge of the strike zone.
There's a ball down the left field line. That's going to go up against the wall. Tellez is around first, and he will jog into second. His second double of the spring. Rowdy Tellez, an opposite field double with 1 out here in the 7th.
Interesting at bat for Rowdy Tellez there. I talked about that first pitch strike. He did not like the call. He took a changeup up and away. And this fastball out over the plate. Tellez not trying to do too much. That's very impressive from a big guy that hits for a lot of power to be able to take that ball up and away the other way and slapping it into the left field corner. A very fine all-around hitter, Rowdy Tellez.
Now, you talk to the minor league coaches and instructors, Tim Raines, Devon White, guys that have seen Tellez play in the past, and they're really high on Rowdy Tellez. This is Daryl Siciliani. Siciliani started in left field. Now he is playing in center. He's 0 for 2.
Daryl has that versatility as well to move around in the outfield. He had an outstanding spring camp here last year for the Blue Jays, did not make the club, and then he sustained an injury in AAA Buffalo that really set him back.
Siciliani has some time with the New York Mets. Blue Jays acquired him from the Mets. Interesting guy. He, as Joe mentioned, is versatile. He can play all 3 outfield positions. Plus, he gives the Blue Jays a left-handed bat. Something that they sorely missed last year. This ball's pulled on the ground. Nice play at first base by Joey Tudoslavich. And Siciliani's retired on the out. Tellez moves up to third.
He's a name that we may see again. We saw him last year up in Toronto for part of the season, but Siciliani brings a lot to the table. He runs the bases very well. He's got some decent speed. He's got some pop in his bat and plays a decent outfield. By the time he got up last year with the Blue Jays, not a lot of opportunity to play. Very difficult when you're getting very sparingly at bats.
Anthony Alford getting his 3rd plate appearance of the afternoon. He's lined out and struck out. There's strike 2. Alford, of course, just in need of repetition. He needs the opportunity to play every day in the minor leagues, and I really wouldn't be surprised if he starts out again here in Dunedin. Get him off to a good start, build up his confidence, and then progress him as you feel he starts to learn Breaking ball, and Anthony Alford strikes out. The Blue Jays leave the tying run at third base. Will go to the 8th, 2-1 Pittsburgh. It's 9-1-1, a 3-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
Well, Rowdy Tellez is a name that we continue to talk about early in spring training, and I got a feeling we're going to continue talking about it throughout the month of March and into the season. Came into the ballgame as a pinch runner in the 5th inning, stole a base, not something he's accustomed to. And then in his at-bat in the 7th, he drilled the ball into the left field corner for a double. He's not a base stealer, but he can handle the bat. He's got some pop. He gets to the game, and he's really worked on his defense around the first base bag.
Yeah, Tellez has really sought out all the veteran first basemen he comes in contact with, ask him about some inside tips, help him defensively. Eric Wood facing TJ House. Nice play at second base by Tim Lopes. The young second baseman takes a hit away from Eric Wood. Blue Jays continue to make defensive changes. TJ House in his 2nd inning of work. In the right field, it's Josh Palacios taking over defensively for Anthony Alford.
Josh Palacios is the right fielder. First baseman, number 88, Joey Jadosovich.
J.B. Woodman moves into center field defensively, and Woodman is a guy that we hear an awful lot about. That's Danny Jansen behind the plate. Jansen catching on Gratterall, picked up for Jared Saltalamacchia. Now Danny Jansen moves in behind the plate, and those glasses he's sporting under his mask, very interesting, as Danny Jansen just found out last season and he was in need of glasses. Got glasses after the season, went out to the Arizona Fall League and hit nearly .290.
Well, new lease on life when you can see the baseball. What a difference it makes. He felt that towards the end of the season and things were getting a little blurry.
John Berry takes that chopper at third, throws to Tellez for the out.
It was towards the end of the season that he was having trouble with his vision, but it finally came to a point, and he said the most difficult thing was admitting that maybe there was an issue, because, you know, as players, you never want to make an excuse, and the last thing you want to do is make the excuse that I can't see very well. How many times you heard that one? But
yeah, he always talked about having trouble seeing, but he said, I always thought it was related to maybe I was a little bit tired, I didn't see well, but thankfully he has addressed his vision problems, and boy, he can catch first and foremost. The problem was the fact that he never has hit much, but he went to the Arizona Fall League and put on a show with the bat.
And I asked him if that affected his catching as much as his hitting. He said not as much, but sometimes with the night games in the darkness, it was a little bit more difficult. But once again, he was almost in that denial, or he's just afraid to admit that there's something wrong.
Off the glove of House. Lopes is there to pick him up. 3 up, 3 down. TJ House has a clean inning in the 8th. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Still a 1-run game.
This program brought to you by New Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
Beautiful afternoon here in Dunedin, Florida. We move to the bottom of the 8th inning. Blue Jays trail by a run. This will be Jonathan Diaz leading off for the Blue Jays. It's the first pitch strike from Clay Holmes. Holmes in his second inning of relief. He gave up a 1-out double to Rowdy Tellez, but struck out Anthony Alford to end the threat. Well, he's pounding that strike zone, Joe.
Well, he sure does. And again, with that height, you can really create the downward plane. And when you do that with high velocity, and he's got some good movement on that fastball down in the zone, tough to square up.
One and two to Jonathan Diaz. Diaz strikes out on the high cutter, one away. Joe, we're about 10 days into spring training now. The Blue Jays have played a few games, not many, but is there anything that stands out to you in spring training so far that you've been impressed with as far as the Blue Jays and their players?
Well, I think it's the attitude. We talked about it earlier, more about the attitude of the players coming into this camp. It feels a little bit different than it has in the last several years, because even last year, the Blue Jays at this time were coming off that huge year in the appearance in the American League Championship Series. Of course, thinking always that you want to take it a step further, but that confidence, I think, is wavering a little bit. But they've done it again. And now it's a big loss, of course, when Edwin Encarnacion is not back with your club. I think the biggest thing coming into this camp is overcoming that. That is a key player. But the Blue Jays have done that by adding the bats like Kendrys Morales and Steve Pearce, bringing this kind of new group together and creating that same feeling that there's some unfinished business still to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what I've taken out of this is how the players have come into this camp with a tremendous work ethic. We see them here, and many of them are here 7:30 in the morning, even earlier than that, working in the weight room, making sure that they do all their work prior to their baseball day starting. But it seems as though, and I think it's a carryover, we saw a lot of players come down here in October, start to work out right after the playoffs. Took maybe a week, 10 days off. Jay Happ, Aaron Sanchez were here working out. Troy Tulowitzki's been here several times over the offseason. Josh Donaldson and a lot of players, Rowdy Tellez and Richard Urena, came here in January. So I think John Gibbons feels real good about the commitment the players have made as they prepare for the 2017 season.
And I think saying that players want to win is, sure, it's stating the obvious, but when you win like the Blue Jays have the last couple of years, now you've got a group that has that confidence. They know now it's for real and that there's only one more step to take. And when you start feeling that all the way around, we talked to Jared Saltalamacchia today on the headset after he came out of the ballgame. This is an outsider, and he told me last week, he said, I hated playing these guys. You know, the perception around this league is they are gritty, they're gamers, you hate them. But then when he comes over here into a Blue Jays uniform, it's like, wow, these guys are great teammates. And he was talking about Russell. He was talking about Donaldson and Bautista. The list goes on. That's probably the ultimate compliment, to say you hate guys when you're playing against them, but boy, to put the same uniform on is the best.
I had the same feeling when I got a chance to play with Sal Bando in Milwaukee. Of course, in Kansas City when I was with the Royals, our big rivals were the Oakland A's, and I hated Sal Bando. I thought he was the biggest jerk on the earth, and then I got to play with him and found out what a terrific guy he was. But you're right, I think a lot of Blue Jays players, people don't know them, but there's an edge to them. They believe they're good. And if you don't believe you're good, no one else is going to. So the one player I'm anxious to see, and I won't get a chance after this game today, I'll be going to Japan, so I won't be with you guys for about 3 weeks, but Dan Shulman and Jerry Howarth will be in the booth to take over the duties here all throughout spring training. I'll be back on the 19th of March, but the one guy I want to see all spring long is Kendrys Morales. I think he's going to be a terrific addition to this ball club, and you know, Morales is a switch hitter that's been a very productive DH the last several years.
there is a reason why the Blue Jays went after him so quickly. When the Edwin experiment did not work, he turned down the offer. Edwin wanted to look elsewhere. Blue Jays had to act. He was one of the best hitters out there on the market, and the Blue Jays knew that he's probably not going to be out there very long, so they jumped on it, and I think that was a huge signing. This is a guy that hit 30 home runs last year, and I think we can see that number go up big time this year, playing in the AL East.
2 outs. This is Dwight Smith Jr. batting for the first time. He takes a strike. To give you an idea how productive Kendrys Morales has been the last 2 seasons, David Ortiz of the Red Sox, who's now retired, picked up 225 RBIs as a DH the last 2 seasons. Kendrys Morales is second with 183. Well ahead of Victor Martinez, who is third at 139. So the Blue Jays have a run producer, and you know, Edwin Encarnacion, he's one of the best power hitters in the game, and it's difficult for one guy to put up numbers like Edwin. But I think the addition of Kendrys Morales is going to be one that's going to continue to boost the offensive strength of this ball club.
And I think what we've seen from Morales so far is he's kind of a quiet type guy, and he's just still feeling his way around with his new club. That's the way it is oftentimes when you get to a new team. But he is going to make a huge impact in this lineup, and he has certainly, I think, been welcomed with open arms for the rest of from the rest of the 9.
One and two outs to Dwight Smith Jr. Another throw over to first, and Lopes is back in. Tim Lopes drew a 2-out walk. Blue Jays trail by 1. We're in the bottom of the 8th here in Dunedin. Pittsburgh has a 2-1 lead. Breaking ball missed outside. You saw the first base coach, Tim Leeper. Leap's going to leave the Blue Jays as well and join Team Canada. He'll be coaching third base for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, and he's all pumped up about that.
Well, he is, and I asked him about that. And, you know, it's a tricky thing to be a third base coach because you need reps over there. You need some experience in reading balls off the bat and to the outfield. So he's going to get thrown right into the fire.
Smith strikes out. That ends the inning. The Blue Jays will head to the 9th down by a run. What a day here in Florida. We're not far from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's what you might be doing if you weren't at the ballpark here in Dunedin. Comes on to work the 9th inning here against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Dermody got an opportunity to pitch for the Blue Jays last year. First chance to pitch in the big leagues. There's numbers from all 3 levels, A-ball, AA, and AAA last year in 47 games. So he's on to work the 9th, and the bullpen has been on display today. Berto Osuna had a good inning of work. Aaron Luke, Ryan Chapera. And we didn't see any of these 3 guys, but Joe Siddle, these 3 pitchers, the veteran pitchers, have a chance to be very important in that Blue Jays bullpen.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of these 3 men Before we see a Roberto Osuna, on most occasions, Joe Smith added as a right-handed submarine thrower. J.P. Howell, the lefty from the Dodgers, two very big additions to join Jason Grilli in setting up the back end of that bullpen for Roberto Osuna. A lot of veteran experience here. Jason Grilli was not even with this club when they broke camp last year and played a pivotal role in the Blue Jays bullpen last season.
Joe Smith is really interesting. He's a sidearmer, throws a sinker and a slider, and boy, if he can get back to form, he is a real addition for this Blue Jays bullpen. Kevin Newman is pinch hitting against Matt Dermody here in the ninth. He's batting in the DH spot. Eric Weiss went 0 for 2 with a walk as the DH.
Smith battled some hamstring injuries last year pitching for the Angels. Then he was traded to the Cubs. So as long as he has got the health clearance, and if he can find his form, he's got 9 years of major league experience. Pitched in 54 games last year. He's 33 years old, and the Blue Jays brought him over on a $3 million deal. Pete Walker's excited about his two new additions in the bullpen.
Well, they're veterans, and you know, if they just get back to their career averages, their career norms, they're going to be an addition to this bullpen, and a positive one for sure. Pete Walker, like Jared Saltalamacchia, who he interviewed earlier in the day, he's got to learn about these pitchers as well. First timers in camp with the Blue Jays. Kevin Newman gets himself a pinch hit single. That starts the top of the ninth.
Oh, we talked a lot about this towards the end of the season last year, but I don't think Pete Walker nationally, and I mean nationally in the United States and across Major League Baseball, gets enough credit for the performance of his starting rotation. We talk a lot about their health and staying on the field. That's important to pitch a lot of innings. But all of the little tweaks and things that go on in between starts to keep guys on track, Pete has a tremendous knack, a great communicator with these guys. You hear it from all of them.
Well, Jay Happ will tell you, first and foremost, the reason he re-signed with the Toronto Blue Jays last couple of years ago was Pete Walker. He said, Pete had my back when I was here the first time, and I had a chance to be a free agent, and I came back. Partly because of Pete Walker. That ball goes off the glove of Matt Dermody as the catcher, Ji Ding John, reaches first base. Tim Lopes was there to back up the play, but excuse me, that's not Tim Lopes anymore. That is Christian Lopes, who has come in to take over for Tim Lopes. This ball goes off the pitcher's, off the first baseman's glove, and then the pitcher can't handle it at first.
Well, he did an excellent job to get to that ball. He over pursued it because it was tipped at first, barehanded it, which was an outstanding play, but then to time that flip to first base with the pitcher covering, not easy. Rowdy Tellez working on that mobility over there, trying to increase his range. Dermody unable to squeeze it as he got around that first base bag.
Dermody is charged with the error. This is the shortstop, Max Maroff, who struck out in his only plate appearance. He takes the first pitch strike. Well, you make a great point about Pete Walker, and a Blue Jays starting rotation had the fourth best ERA in baseball last year at 3.64. Pete knows the right buttons to push with each of the individuals, and he's done a great job with this team.
Well, it just seems, though, around the league, and you hear some of the bigger names, and Ray Searage is one right here with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So for some reason, Pete Walker is not that household name, but it better be pretty soon. They have to start identifying him as one of those guys because of what's happened. They have a lot of talent with this club, but talent doesn't always win and keep guys on the field. And I continue to talk to guys, and the catcher too. Russ is probably the best resource to talk to about his pitchers. But Pete's communication and be able to tinker with things when guys aren't quite right to get them back. So many little things that can help, and he's guided them along the way.
You know, in this day and age of all the analytics and the catcher framing stats and all that stuff, well, he doesn't frame very well. You know what? Pete Walker knows the value of Russell Martin because he is the conduit between the pitchers and the coaching staff. He's the guy that says, hey, this guy can't do this. This guy's not comfortable throwing that slider. This guy can't pitch inside. All of those things you can't find on a stat sheet. Russell Martin brings that intangible to this ball club.
And as a pitching coach, you can watch your pitcher, you can watch a lot of video, you can break things down all you want. But the best seat in the house, as you know, is right behind the plate. You've got the perfect view of what the ball is doing, the movement, the location, and everything involved. And that's why, again, when Russell Martin was brought over here, things changed, and they changed with the pitching staff, and it's no coincidence.
This is popped up on the infield as Jonathan Diaz makes the catch, and that's the first out of the inning. Now I got to correct myself. That is Tim Lopes, who's moved from second to short. Jonathan Diaz is out of the game. And we got the minor leaguers moving around here. So Tim Lopes is at short. Christian Lopes is now at second base. One out. This is Clark Egan, the right fielder. Egan grounded out to second base back in the seventh inning. The weak grounded toward second. Christian Lopes throws to Tim Lopes back to first base, just not in time. Rowdy Tellez with the stretch at first base, but Clark Egan legged it out to keep the inning alive.
Well, it was a very softly hit ball. It didn't look like it was going to be a double play ball. They did a pretty good job in the middle and an excellent stretch at first base by Rowdy Tellez, but that ball just hit not quite hard enough for the Blue Jays to turn two.
So now Danny Ortiz, he's had a nice day at the plate. 2 for Chuk. Came on as a pinch hitter in the fifth, singled to left, had an infield single in the seventh. Little chopper over the mound that Jonathan Diaz couldn't handle. Matt Dermody trying to strand a pair of runners here, misses with the first pitch. There's a strike. Ball on a strike with 2 outs here.
Matt Dermody was another one of those Blue Jays players. He's from up north in Iowa, and he came down around the middle of January, he said, down here to Florida to work out at the Blue Jays facility. And we talk again about the high performance program and how they open the doors down here for players to come down. And what a perfect example of a guy that does live up north in the winter, comes down and gets going early, started throwing around the 1st of February. And it's an ideal situation for young players, especially for Dermody, a guy that's trying to break into the major leagues.
1-2 pitch off the end of the bat. John Birdie at third will take his time, and that'll do it. The Pirates threaten, but they strand a pair. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. The Blue Jays trail by 1. Pittsburgh leads at 2-1. The Blue Jays will be back on Sportsnet next Friday. It's an afternoon game when the Blue Jays welcome in the New York Yankees. It all starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And that game will be broadcast with Dan Shulman and Pat Tabler in the booth as they will bring you all the action. That's next Friday. Yankees here in Dunedin to take on the Blue Jays. More spring training baseball right here on Sportsnet.
Miguel Rosario split time between A-ball and AA last year, 42 ball games. A 2.24 ERA. Look at that whip at 1.07. That is excellent, holding opponents to a batting average under 200. 55 strikeouts in his 64 1/3 innings of work.
Rosario will work to a former Pittsburgh Pirate. Reese McGuire will come on to pinch hit. McGuire was one of 2 first-round draft picks the Pirates had in 2013. Austin Meadows was the first-round pick in 2013, and he's on the verge of breaking in the outfield with the Pirates. And Reese McGuire is here with the Blue Jays, a left-handed hitting catcher.
Be very interesting to see what happens this season with the Pirates. If they're not in the hunt around the trade deadline time, it makes you wonder if McCutchen is having a good year. Is he tradable then when you have an Austin Meadows ready to come on up?
Austin Meadows, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Right now it is McCutchen in right, Marte in center, Gregory Polanco in left. Breaking ball in there for a called strike 3. Reese McGuire packs the lumber back to the dugout.
Very interesting with that move too, and I think the Pirates dug deep into their analytics and realized that McCutchen was having more trouble moving to his left in center field. By putting him in right field now with the right field line there, it limits the range that's required over there. So they're trying to adjust on the fly, make it best for all of the parties involved, and then trying to improve their outfield defense.
This is Danny Jansen, the catcher, getting his first plate appearance. I mentioned Jansen had a very good Arizona Fall League after putting on the glasses. He's always been a guy that can handle himself behind the plate. And now everybody's hopeful that the glasses will help him at the plate, but this time he strikes out. A couple of strikeouts for Rosario. Rowdy Tellez doubled in his only plate appearance. That came on his first at bat in the 7th. He came into the ball game as a pinch runner and picked up a stolen base in the 5th. Pinch ran for Justin Smoke, who started at first. Off-speed pitch. Tellez is fooled on that changeup.
And even though Tellez is fooled there, it's a very good swing. He was out front, but he stayed through the baseball very well, stayed on the baseball very well. I call that a good miss. That's what you want to see in a hitter when he's caught out front on a breaking ball or an off-speed pitch.
Takes that breaking ball inside off the plate. 2 balls and a strike to Rowdy Tellez. Blue Jays down to the last out. They trail 2-1 in this ball game. Pittsburgh scored a run in the 4th on a sac fly by John Jaso. They scored their 2nd run on a balk committed by Danny Barnes. Tellez showing good plate discipline, takes that pitch low just off the plate. 3-1 now. Tellez with big power. 20 home runs a year ago in AA. Breaking ball. It's a full count. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Ball 4. Velez takes the breaking ball outside. So Tellez is aboard. He represents the tying run. That's with 2 outs, and J.B. Woodman will get his first opportunity to swing the bat today. Woodman took over defensively in center field. Miguel Rosario, a couple of strikeouts, and now a 2-out walk. Woodman, 22 years old. He is from Orlando, not far from here. Taken by the Blue Jays in the 2nd round, 2016, last year, out of University of Mississippi. Hits this one high to right. This ball is caught, and that's going to be the ball game. J.B. Woodman flies out to end the game. The Pirates beat the Blue Jays 2-1. And Joe, overall, you got to say it was a good day because we got to see Marcus Strowman come out, and he was perfect over his 2 innings.
Well, that's the story of the day for me. It's always good to see Marcus Strowman, any one of your starting pitchers, in their first start of the spring, but especially for Strowman preparing himself for the WBC, pitching for the United States. An excellent performance. Looked like he was in mid-season form. Gerald Saltalamacchia told us as much.
Roberto Osuna had a good inning of work as well. TJ House was impressive in his couple of innings of work. The Blue Jays overall just, they come up short. Pittsburgh wins it 2-1. Next game Friday. Yankees are here in Dunedin. Dan Shulman and Pat Tabler will bring you all the action. Thanks for watching.